You open your eyes, and the first thing you notice is the smell. It's not just unpleasant, it's overwhelming, suffocating, alive. Rotting meat, human waste, smoke, sweat, wet straw, horse dung. It all mixes into a stench that clings to your lungs. You gag, but no one around you notices. They're used to it. Welcome to Tudor Britain. You look down and see the ground beneath your feet. It isn't paved. It isn't even clean earth. It's a sludge, a swamp of mud, ash, and waste that splashes against your boots. You take one step, then another, and the muck sucks at your feet as though it doesn't want to let you go. You glance around. Narrow timber houses lean inwards, their upper floors jutting so far out they almost touch above your head. It feels like the street itself is closing in, trapping you. Rain drips from the rooftops, falling into the open gutters that run right down the middle of the street, gutters carrying urine, blood from butchered animals, and every kind of human filth imaginable. You want to hold your breath, but you can't. You want to escape, but this is your world now. A child runs past you barefoot, splashing in the filthy gutter water. He doesn't even flinch. This is playtime for him. You see sores on his legs, his hair crawling with lice, but his smile is wide. He doesn't know there's anything better than this. You're already dizzy from the smell, but then you hear the sound of coughing. Not just one or two people, but everywhere, hacking, wheezing, retching. Disease doesn't whisper here, it roars. Every corner of this street holds death waiting to happen. You clutch your chest and realize, in this place, survival isn't guaranteed for a single day. Asterisk, you take another step, and your stomach growls. It's not because you skipped breakfast. It's because breakfast doesn't exist here the way you know it. In Tudor Britain, the poor eat when there's food, and go without when there isn't. You follow the smell of baking bread, hoping for relief, but you quickly realize it's not bread for you. The baker's oven is for the wealthy. For someone like you, a commoner, your meals are plain, rough, and often barely edible. Rye bread blackened with grit is your staple. It scratches your throat as you chew, and sometimes you spit out pebbles mixed into the flour to make it weigh more. If you're lucky, maybe there's pottage, a thin stew of oats, beans, or cabbage boiled until it's gray. Meat? Don't even dream of it. A chicken costs more than you'll earn in a week. And when you do see meat, it's often crawling with maggots before it even hits the pot. Salt and smoke hide the rot, but not the sickness it carries. You remember the milk you drink at home. Today, cold, fresh, clean. Forget it. Tudor milk is warm, sour, often mixed with water to stretch it further. It curdles in your mouth before you swallow, and water, that's worse. The Thames, London's lifeline, is a sewer. Butchers dump blood, tanners pour chemicals, privies empty straight into the flow. People still drink from it, but every mouthful is a gamble with dysentery. You clutch your stomach again. Hunger in this world is constant, gnawing, merciless. Even when you do eat, you never feel satisfied, but hunger isn't your only enemy. You look at your hands. Dirt cakes your nails, lines your palms. You can wash, but the water is the same filth that poisons your body. Soap is a luxury, reserved for those who will never touch you. For the poor, dirt is not an accident. It is your second skin. The man beside you sneezes. His teeth are black stumps, his gums bleeding. He spits into the mud, and you hear the phlegm hit the ground with a wet slap. No one cares. No one even looks up. Disease is so normal, it's part of the background, like the ringing of church bells. A woman stumbles past carrying a baby on her hip. The child doesn't move. You wonder if it's asleep, until you notice the gray stillness of its tiny face. The mother clutches the body tightly, whispering prayers as if words alone could breathe life back into it. Death isn't a stranger here. It's a neighbor, always at your door. You keep walking, hoping to escape the sight, but the city won't let you. You pass an open market. The butcher's stall displays meat so red it looks fresh, but then you see the swarms of flies covering it. He waves a dirty rag at them, half-hearted, then shrugs. People still line up, coins in hand. Rotten food is. Still food. Next to him, a fishmonger sells yesterday's catch, its eyes clouded, its smell sour. He shouts prices at the crowd, his voice hoarse, his apron streaked with scales and blood. His customers haggle fiercely, each coin meaning the difference between eating and starving. You reach for your own purse. But it's nearly empty. Wages here are cruel. A laborer works from sunrise to sunset, breaking his back for pennies that barely keep a family alive. Miss a day and your children don't eat. Fall sick and they die, and the work itself, it's brutal. You see men hauling barrels heavier than themselves, their shoulders bent, their spines twisted. Women wash clothes in freezing water until their hands crack and bleed. Children crawl up chimneys, coughing soot into their tiny lungs. Your modern comfort is gone. No electricity, no medicine, no soft bed waiting for you at night. Here, every day is survival, and every night is a prayer you'll open your eyes again. You wipe sweat from your brow, but it only makes your hands stickier with grime. Around you, the noise rises, shouts, arguments, dogs barking, babies crying, church bells tolling. It's not the sound of life. It's the sound of people clawing through another day, and you realize, with a shiver, you've only been here for a few hours. And already you're breaking. The church bell strikes noon. Your stomach twists again, but not from hunger this time, from exhaustion. You've only been in Tudor Britain half a day, yet the weight of survival already crushes you. Work. Someone says, shoving a basket into your arms? There's no choice here. You can't refuse. You either work or you starve. The basket is heavy, filled with damp laundry that smells of smoke and sweat. You stumble toward the riverbank where women kneel, scrubbing cloth against wooden boards. Their hands are raw, red, bleeding. Soap is too precious, so they use a burning chemical that stings the eyes and cracks the skin. They scrub until their knuckles split open. The water around them cloudy with dirt and blood. You dip your own hands in, and the cold slices through your skin like knives. Within seconds, your fingers go numb. The women laugh at you, not cruelly, but knowingly. They've lived with this pain for years. To them, it's just another day. To you, it feels like punishment. The man beside you coughs again, that same deep, rattling sound you heard earlier. He's a carpenter, you're told. His hands are covered in splinters and scars. He builds tables and stools for the wealthy. Yet his own home is bare, his bed nothing but straw crawling with fleas. He tells you he once cut his hand on a nail. The wound swelled, turned black, and nearly killed him. No doctor helped. Just prayers, herbs, and hope. You can't shake the thought. One accident, one infection, and your story ends here. Children dart between the workers, their bare feet slapping against the mud. They aren't playing. They're carrying buckets, hauling water, gathering scraps. One boy, no older than 8, drags a wooden cart stacked with firewood. His small body trembles with the weight, his face streaked with soot. Childhood doesn't exist here. From the moment you can walk, you work, and yet, for all this labor, poverty never loosens its grip. Wages are so low they barely feed you. Rent devours what little remains. Landlords are merciless. Fall behind even once, and you're thrown into the street. Homelessness is common, and those who wander without shelter often don't last long. You walk past a beggar slumped against a wall, his hand outstretched. His eyes are sunken, his lips cracked. He whispers for alms, but most ignore him. You look closer and realize his legs are gone, rotted away by infection. His rags hide nothing. His stench tells you he's already halfway to the grave. The rich pass by without a glance. Their shoes are polished, their cloaks lined with fur. They live in a different world entirely, one you will never touch. To them, your suffering is background noise, as normal as church bells or market cries. You start to notice something else, the faces around you. They're hardened, weathered, older than their years. A woman of 30 looks 50. A man of 40 is bent like an old tree. Their lives are carved into their skin, their pain etched into every line. But the most terrifying part isn't their suffering. It's how normal it all seems. They don't cry. They don't rage. They endure, because what choice do they have? This is their reality, and it has been for generations. You feel something deep inside you crack. In your world, poverty is measured in bank accounts and bills. Here it is measured in survival, in whether you eat today or bury your child tomorrow. And for the first time, you understand, you wouldn't just struggle here, you wouldn't just suffer, you would break. Asterisk, the coughing grows louder. At first, you think it's just background noise, part of the city's endless chaos, but then you notice it's everywhere. The sound follows you like a plague of echoes. Men, women, children, hacking, wheezing, spitting. You pass a doorway where a woman cradles her husband's head in her lap. His skin is pale, his lips blue. He gasps for breath, his chest rattling like loose stones. His body jerks once, then falls still. The woman wails, rocking back and forth, but no one stops to comfort her. Death is so common here, people barely glance at it. You feel the hairs on your neck rise. Because you know, the dead don't stay buried long in this world. A cart rattles down the street, wheels crunching through mud. A man shouts, "Bring out your dead." And doors creak open one by one. Bodies wrapped in linen are dragged into the road, stacked like firewood. The smell is unbearable, sour and sweet at the same time. You gag, but the man driving the cart just shrugs. To him, death is a job. You follow the cart to the churchyard. The ground is already swollen with graves, the earth piled high. They bury the bodies quickly, sometimes too quickly. You hear whispers that not all of them are dead when they're thrown in. Your chest tightens. You reach for the nearest wall to steady yourself, but even the wall feels wrong. It's damp, slimy, crawling with mold. You glance down at your clothes and realize they're already filthy, stained by the city itself. And then it hits you, the realization that makes your blood run cold. It isn't just hunger or poverty that will kill you here. It's the invisible enemy, disease. The plague still lingers like a shadow. Even when it isn't raging, fear of it hangs in the air. One outbreak can wipe out whole streets in days. Fever, boils, blackened skin. Once it starts, there's no escape. People lock themselves inside, abandoning even their own family too. Avoid infection. But plague isn't the only killer. Typhus, dysentery, smallpox, they stalk every corner. You drink from the river and your body floods with sickness. You sleep on straw and lice feast on your blood. You eat meat and parasites twist inside your gut. Medicine? Don't expect it. The physician you find wears a long black robe, his face hidden behind a beaked mask stuffed with herbs. He tells you your illness is caused by bad air, by imbalanced humors in your body. His cure, bloodletting. He slices your arm open, lets your life drip into a bowl, and calls it healing. If you're wealthy, maybe you survive the treatment. But you die faster. You feel a tickle in your throat, a small cough. It terrifies you more than anything you've seen today, because here, a cough is not just a cough. It's a death sentence waiting to be written. You wrap your arms around yourself, shivering though the air is heavy and warm. You can already feel your body betraying you. The filth, the fumes, the sickness, they're seeping into you with every breath, and for the first time, you whisper to yourself, "I won't last the night." Asterisk, the sun begins to set. And with it, your last illusion of safety fades. The streets, once loud with market cries and church bells, now fall into a heavy silence broken only by the crack of distant voices. Doors slam shut, shutters close. The city retreats indoors, leaving the streets to a different kind of life. You feel it before you see it, the change in the air. By day, the filth and hunger nearly broke you, but by night, the city itself becomes your enemy. There are no streetlights to guide your way. Only a faint moon glows through the smoke-filled sky. The timber houses, leaning overhead, cast shadows so deep they seem alive. You strain your eyes, but the darkness is nearly absolute, and that's when you hear it. Footsteps, not your own. You turn but see nothing. The sound quickens. A laugh echoes down the alley. Suddenly, figures emerge from the black, thin men. With hollow eyes and knives glinting in their hands, cut purses, thieves. In the day, they vanish in the crowd. At night, they rule. One lunges for your purse. Another shoves you hard against the wall, the edge of his blade pressing into your side. You barely gasp before he whispers, "Quiet." His breath reeks of ale and rot. You hand over what little coin you have. He snatches it and vanishes into the dark as quickly as he came. Your heart pounds. You want to run, but where? Every alley feels the same, narrow, wet, dangerous, then comes another danger. Worse than thieves. Fire. The houses around you are made of timber, straw, and tar, kindling, waiting for a spark. People carry candles and torches, their flames swaying in the wind. One overturned lantern, one careless ember, and the entire street would erupt. You've heard of fires here consuming whole neighborhoods, spreading faster than anyone can outrun. You glance up and see the black marks on the walls, scars from old flames. People died here, you realize. Burned alive, trapped in the wooden cages they called homes, and even if fire spares you, fear itself hunts you. The church bells toll again, not for prayer this time, but for curfew. Stragglers caught outside after dark risk arrest, or worse. Guards roam the streets, their pikes in hand, their eyes searching. They don't protect you. They suspect you. To them, anyone out at night is guilty. You press yourself into the shadows, praying not to be seen. Every sound is sharper now. The creak of a door, the cry of a baby, the scuttle of rats across the stones. The city breathes like a living beast, and you are trapped in its chest. The stench grows heavier. Rot, smoke, waste, it clings even tighter in the damp night air. Your throat aches, your eyes sting. You feel fever prickling your skin, though maybe it's only fear. Somewhere nearby, a scream pierces the darkness. High, sharp, then cut short. You don't move. You don't breathe. You realize this is not a place where help arrives. Here, screams go unanswered. And in that silence and that darkness you finally understand you wouldn't just fear the Tudor day. You would not survive its night. This section shifts the spotlight from the streets to the throne itself, the terrifying shadow of Henry VIII, and the courtly world that could destroy you with a single word. The filth of the streets nearly broke you. But now, you're about to step into a place even more dangerous. Not the gutter, not the plague pit, but the palace. You cross the threshold into Whitehall, and immediately, the air changes. The mud and smoke of London vanish behind you. Here, the floors are polished stone, the walls hung with tapestries so heavy they block the chill. Servants scurry silently, their eyes lowered. No one speaks too loudly. No one dares, because this palace belongs to one man, and that man is King Henry VIII. You've heard the stories before. Everyone has. But standing here, you feel the weight of them pressed down on your chest. Henry is not just a king. He is a force of nature, towering broad, with a gaze that burns straight through you. His footsteps echo like thunder down the hall, and the entire court seems to hold its breath. You bow. You don't dare look up. Because one glance, one wrong move, one misplaced word could end your life. This is a world of silk and gold, yes, but also of daggers hidden behind smiles. Every courtier you pass is dressed in finery, velvet sleeves, jeweled collars, perfumes to mask the same sweat and rot that choke the city outside. But don't be fooled. They are predators. Each one whispers, flatters, schemes. Each one hungers for Henry's favor. Because his favor is survival and his wrath is death. You remember the names? Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, wives who were once queens. Until they weren't, their laughter turned to screams. Their crowns traded for a blade's edge. You imagine yourself in their place. One day adored, the next condemned. One signature from Henry, and your head would roll onto the straw of Tower Green. You grip your hands to stop them from shaking. But the court sees everything, your sweat, your tremble, your fear. In this place, weakness is blood in the water, and every smile hides teeth. Suddenly, Henry's gaze falls on you. And in that instant, you understand something far more terrifying than plague. Hunger, or a thieves' dot in Tudor Britain, the king is not a man. He is God's will made flesh, and before him, you're nothing. The palace glitters by torchlight, but the beauty is a mask. Beneath the jewels, beneath the music, beneath the endless feasts, lies fear. Every word spoken in this court is a weapon. Every glance is a test. And every courtier knows, one slip of the tongue can mean the scaffold. You sit at a long oak table, golden goblets shimmering before you. The food is unlike anything you've seen in the streets. Roasted swans with gilded feathers, boars' heads stuffed with spices, pies so large they hide live birds inside. The smell is intoxicating, rich with cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, flavors, stolen from distant lands, but as you take a bite, you notice no one truly eats. They pick, they sip. Their eyes don't leave Henry, because this isn't a feast. It's a performance, a test of loyalty. A game where the only prize is survival. A man to your left leans too far forward, eager to flatter the king. His voice is too loud, his laugh too desperate. Henry's face hardens. The room grows still, and then Henry waves his hand. Guard sees the man instantly. His protest is drowned in the scrape of steel. He is dragged from the hall, his pleas echoing down the corridor. The music stops, the laughter dies, but no one dares move. You want to ask what will happen to him. But you already know, the tower of the block. The axe. You imagine the cold stone. Beneath your knees, the blindfold pressed against your eyes. You feel the rough hands of the executioner pushing you forward, your cheek against the wood. And then the sound, the hiss of the blade before it bites. Your heart races. You look down at your hands and realize you're trembling again. But you force yourself to stay still. Because here, showing fear is as dangerous as showing defiance. The courtiers around you smile politely, as though nothing happened. They've mastered the art of forgetting. Because remembering means questioning, and questioning means death. You look at Henry again. His expression is calm now, almost bored. To him, life and death are playthings. One nod of his head, and a man's story ends. Another nod, and a family is erased. He changes wives as easily as others change clothes. He executes advisors as quickly as others change shoes. You finally understand what it means to live in his shadow. It isn't just the executions, it isn't just the betrayals. It's the knowledge that every breath you take is borrowed from his mercy, and mercy. In Henry's court is rare. The feast fades behind you, but its shadow lingers. Because now you're walking where those unlucky enough to fall from Henry's grace are sent. The Tower of London rises before you, grey stone against a black sky, its walls thick, its windows narrow like watchful eyes. It isn't just a fortress, it's a graveyard for the living. You step through the gates, and the air changes, cold, damp, heavy. The stones beneath your feet feel slick. As if soaked with centuries of blood, a guard leads you down a narrow stair, torchlight flickering against the walls. The deeper you go, the more suffocating it becomes. The smell is rot and mold, sweat and fear. You pass the first cell. Inside, a man lies chained to the wall. His beard is long, his skin pale as candle wax. His lips move silently, maybe prayer, maybe madness. He looks at you, eyes hollow, and in that gaze you see what happens when hope is stripped away one day at a time. Further in, you hear it, the sound that makes your stomach twist. A scream. It rips through the corridor, sharp and raw. You follow the guard into a chamber where iron tools glint in the torchlight. Racks, pincers, ropes, screws. This is no dungeon of legend. It is real, brutal, designed not for death but for breaking the soul. On the rack, a man's body stretches unnaturally, his joints cracking as he cries out. The torturer turns the wheel slowly, deliberately, savoring each snap. His victim gasps confessions, whether true or false, it doesn't matter. Truth here is whatever Henry wishes it to be. You step back, bile rising in your throat. But the guard blocks your path. You are forced to see, forced to understand. This is what happens when power is questioned. And yet, the tower is not only for nameless prisoners. You walk into another chamber, and your heart nearly stops. Because here lies a queen and Bullen. Her cell is bare, but her presence fills it. She sits on a wooden stool, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes fixed on the floor. She was once the most powerful woman in England, the mother of the future Queen Elizabeth. Now she waits for the axe. You try to speak, but no words come. What could you say to someone who knows her dawn will be her last? She looks up, and her calm pierces deeper than any scream. It is the silence of someone who has accepted her fate. Outside, the scaffold waits. The crowd will gather. The axe will fall. And her story, her life, will be reduced to a cautionary tale whispered in the corridors of power. You stumble out of the chamber, desperate for air. But the tower does not let go. Its walls close in, whispering of all the lives it has devoured. Princes, nobles, scholars, rebels, wives. No one is safe here, and as you look back at its looming walls, you finally understand, in Tudor Britain, the crown does not just rule. It hunts. The feast fades behind you, but its shadow lingers. Because now you're walking where those unlucky enough to fall from Henry's grace are sent. The Tower of London rises before you, grey stone against a black sky. Its walls thick, its windows narrow like watchful eyes. It isn't just a fortress, it's a graveyard for the living. You step through the gates, and the air changes. Cold, damp, heavy, the stones beneath your feet feel slick, as if soaked with centuries of blood. A guard leads you down a narrow stair, torchlight flickering against the walls. The deeper you go, the more suffocating it becomes. The smell is rot and mold, sweat and fear. You pass the first cell. Inside, a man lies chained to the wall. His beard is long, his skin pale as candle wax. His lips move silently. Maybe prayer, maybe madness. He looks at you, eyes hollow, and in that gaze you see what happens when hope is stripped away one day at a time. Further in, you hear it, the sound that makes your stomach twist. A scream. It rips through the corridor, sharp and raw. You follow the guard into a chamber where iron tools glint in the torchlight. Racks, pincers, ropes, screws. This is no dungeon of legend. It is real, brutal, designed not for death but for breaking the soul. On the rack, a man's body stretches unnaturally, his joints cracking as he cries out. The torturer turns the wheel slowly, deliberately, savoring each snap. His victim gasps confessions. Whether true or false, it doesn't matter. Truth here is whatever Henry wishes it to be. You step back, bile rising in your throat. But the guard blocks your path. You are forced to see, forced to understand. This is what happens when power is questioned. And yet, the tower is not only for nameless prisoners. You walk into another chamber, and your heart nearly stops. Because here lies a queen and Bullen. Her cell is bare, but her presence fills it. She sits on a wooden stool, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes fixed on the floor. She was once the most powerful woman in England, the mother of the future Queen Elizabeth. Now she waits for the axe. You try to speak, but no words come. What could you say to someone who knows her dawn will be her last? She looks up, and her calm pierces deeper than any scream. It is the silence of someone who has accepted her fate. Outside, the scaffold waits. The crowd will gather. The axe will fall. And her story, her life, will be reduced to a cautionary tale whispered in the corridors of power. You stumble out of the chamber, desperate for air. But the tower does not let go. Its walls close in, whispering of all the lives it has devoured. Princes, nobles, scholars, rebels, wives. No one is safe here. And as you look back at its looming walls, you finally understand. In Tudor Britain, the crown does not just rule. It hunts. The scaffold is empty now, the crowd dispersing, but its echo lingers. The smell of iron in the air, the image of heads on spikes haunting every step, and yet the terror does not end at the block. Because in Henry's England, death was not always swift. Sometimes the most powerful men in the kingdom withered not from steel, but from suspicion. You walk back into the palace halls and you feel it everywhere. Paranoia. It hangs over the courtiers like a fog. Men who dined together yesterday whisper behind closed doors today. Smiles never reach the eyes. Friendships turn brittle, for they all know the truth. Henry trusts no one. Once, Thomas More was the king's confidant, a man of faith and principle. He laughed with Henry, debated with him, even tutored his daughter. But when he refused to bend, when he refused to bow to Henry's will, the axe silenced him. His head joined the others on the bridge, his mouth stuffed with mockery by the crowd. Thomas. Cromwell, too, the architect of Henry's power, the man who engineered his rise, who crushed enemies with parchment and ink, thought himself untouchable. But one mistake, one political gamble lost, and Cromwell, too, was dragged to the Tower. The man who sent others to the block met the same end. This is the crown's cruelest truth. The higher you climb, the sharper the fall. Even queens, crowned and beloved, were little more than pawns. Catherine Howard, young and radiant, thought herself adored. Yet whispers of infidelity sealed her doom. She begged Henry for mercy, pounding on the doors of his chapel as he prayed. He did not answer. Days later, her head rolled into straw. You stand in the gallery of the palace, staring at the portraits that line the walls. Grand faces, draped in velvet, framed in gold. But you know their stories. Behind every smile is fear. Behind every crown is a ghost. Henry himself grows heavier. Older, his body swollen, his temper black as storm clouds. His leg festers, his moods shift with the wind. Yet even in weakness, his power is absolute, and his paranoia spreads like a plague. He marries, discards, marries again. He executes, pardons, then executes once more. Even the noblest blood, the purest loyalty cannot shield you, because in Henry's England, survival is not about virtue. It is about chance. You take a breath, but it feels shallow, tight. For the first time, you realize what it means to live in this world. It is not the dirt of the streets. It is not the plague. It is not even the executioner's axe. It is the knowledge that no matter who you are, peasant, priest, queen, or lord, you live and die at the mercy of a man whose mercy does not last. And so, as you leave the palace, you understand why the people lower their eyes, why the courtiers speak in whispers, why the city holds its breath when the king passes. Because in Tudor Britain, the crown is not a gift, it is a curse. And it can strike at anyone. The axe has fallen, the tyrant is gone. But the kingdom does not rest. Because now, a new shadow stretches across England. It is the shadow of Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, the Gloriana. The woman draped in pearls and flame-red hair, whose portraits show majesty carved in paint. But behind the mask of beauty and power lies a truth just as dangerous as Henry's iron fist in Elizabeth's England. You will not survive with strength alone. You must survive with silence, with cunning, with loyalty that can change in a heartbeat. The court you enter now is different from Henry's, less brute force, more theater. Elizabeth rules not by terror of the axe, though she uses it when needed, but by the power of secrets. Every corridor whispers. Every chamber listens. Her network of spies, led by the ruthless Sir Francis Walsingham, stretches across the kingdom and beyond. Priests hiding in barns, nobles plotting in candlelight, ambassadors whispering in foreign tongues, all are watched. All are heard. You feel it the moment you arrive. The way courtiers lean in close, pretending to share jokes while their eyes dart for eavesdroppers. The way servants slip silently through the shadows, ears sharper than daggers. The way letters vanish intercepted before they reach their hands. Here, in Elizabeth's court, nothing is private, and everything can damn you. One wrong prayer, and you are branded a traitor. One wrong friendship, and you are marked as a conspirator. One wrong word about the Queen, and you vanish into the Tower, never to be seen again. You think of Mary, Queen of Scots, Elizabeth's cousin, royal blood of Scotland, a queen in her own right. For years she was Elizabeth's prisoner, locked away in castles and manors, her every word spied upon. Plots rose in her name, rebellions kindled in her honor. And in the end, her cousin signed her death warrant. Mary's head rolled into straw. just as Anne Boleyn's had before her. Elizabeth watched, and the world learned even queens are not safe. You walk through the court and see Elizabeth herself at last. Her face is powdered white, her lips stained crimson, her gown shimmering with jewels that glint like stars. She does not smile, she does not need to. Her very presence demands obedience, but behind her painted mask her eyes burn sharp, calculating, alive with suspicion. She is not Henry, but she is his daughter, and you understand now, in Henry's reign you would have feared the axe. In Elizabeth's reign you fear the whisper, because in this world of spies and secrets you don't need to be guilty. You only need to be accused. The air in Elizabeth's England is not filled with the clang of swords, but with something far more dangerous. Faith, every church bell, every whispered prayer, every flicker of candlelight in a hidden chapel could betray you, because this is not just a country. It is a kingdom at war with itself, Catholic against Protestant. Protestant against Catholic. Elizabeth has declared England Protestant. The Bible read in English, the Pope cast out. Mass forbiddance. And yet across the land there are those who cling to the old ways. Families who keep rosaries tucked beneath floorboards. Priests who sneak into homes, carrying chalices hidden in their cloaks. Children taught Latin prayers in secret. You step into a village church one Sunday. The Book of Common Prayer is read aloud. The words feel strange, stripped of Latins. Mystery. Some bow their heads in devotion. Others stiffen, lips pressed tight, eyes burning with silent defiance. You realize, here, in this small wooden church, every worshipper is a potential enemy of the crown, and the crown knows it. Elizabeth's spies hunt Catholics with relentless precision. They search manor houses for priest holes, tiny chambers carved behind walls or under staircases where priests hide for hours, even days, barely able to breathe. If found, they are dragged to London, chained, tortured, and executed for treason. You hear their screams in your mind, men stretched on the rack, their bones pulled apart, their skin flayed. And when they die, it is not a simple execution. It is the full horror reserved for traitors, hanging, drawing, quartering. Their bodies torn apart, their remains displayed as warnings, but Protestants are not safe either. In Catholic Europe, Elizabeth is branded a heretic, a bastard queen unfit for the throne. Plots rise constantly, foreign priests slipping into England, noblemen conspiring to place Mary, Queen of Scots, upon the throne. Every rumor of invasion, every whisper of rebellion sends shockwaves through the land. Neighbors turn on neighbors. Husbands doubt wives. Parents fear their own children might betray them. You walk through a marketplace and hear two men arguing. One hisses that the Pope is the true authority. The other swears loyalty to Elizabeth. Their voices rise, fists clench, and you feel the danger in the air. This is not a debate. This is survival. Because in Elizabeth's England, your faith is not just your soul. It is your life. One prayer in Latin, and you could hang. One refusal to kneel, and you could burn. One whispered word of loyalty to Rome, and you vanish into the Tower. And as you leave the marketplace, your heart pounding, you realize something chilling. In this kingdom, God is not only worshipped, he is weaponized. Step. Outside the whispering halls of spies and the secret prayers and hidden chambers. And at first glance, Elizabeth's England looks like a world reborn. The streets are alive with song. Theater companies perform in wooden playhouses that rise like new cathedrals to imagination. Crowds gather by the thousands to watch the words of Shakespeare, Marlowe, and Spenser, stories of kings and fools, of lovers and traitors. Sailors return from voyages across uncharted seas, their ships heavy with spices, silver, and stolen gold. The names of Drake and Raleigh echo through taverns, their adventures turned into legend before the ale runs dry. Maps expand, horizons widen, and England begins to see itself not as an island, but as an empire in the making, painter's craft. Elizabeth's image into something divine. Her face, powdered and pale, becomes eternal on canvas. Her gowns shimmer with pearls, her hair burns like flame, her hand rests on globes and swords. She is not just a queen, she is Gloriana, a goddess draped in silk, but you, standing here, feel the weight of the truth. For this golden mask is just that, a mask. You step behind the theaters and you see the mud. Actors live in poverty, often branded as rogues and vagabonds. Their words may dazzle, but they sleep on hard boards and eat stale bread. The plague shuts their playhouses often, scattering them into the countryside to beg for coin. You walk through the docks where Drake's sailors boast of treasure. Their teeth are rotting, their skins scarred by lash and storm. Many never return at all, their bones sinking into nameless seas. And in the quiet corners of villages, the golden age looks no different than it did a century before. Peasants, bent double in the fields, hunger gnawing at their bellies, death always a breath away. Even Elizabeth herself lives behind a mask. In public she is radiant, commanding, untouchable. In private she fears age, betrayal, and the endless plots that coil around her throne. Her gowns hide scars, her wigs hide thinning hair, her smiles hide suspicion. You see it in her eyes when she surveys her court, the paranoia inherited from her father. Every courtier is a potential traitor. Every ambassador a possible assassin. Every friend a future enemy, and so the golden age shines like the sun, brilliant, blinding, impossible to look away from. But like the sun, it burns. For those who live beneath it, survival is not measured in art or glory. It is measured in silence, obedience, and luck. You walk away from the court, the theaters, the docks. And as the golden banners flutter above, you realize the truth. In Elizabeth's England, the mask is beautiful. But beneath it, the fear is the same. The mask of Elizabeth's golden age glitters, but behind it coils something darker. Plots, whispers, assassins hidden in shadows. You hear it first, as rumor in the marketplace. Someone mutters of a priest captured in the countryside, another speaks of a nobleman arrested in London. But the whispers grow into roars, yet another conspiracy has been uncovered, for Elizabeth's throne is never safe. To Catholics, she is a heretic usurper. To foreign kings, she is a prize to be removed. To rebels, she is the single thread holding England together. And so plots bloom like weeds, watered by desperation and greed. The Ridolfi plot, the Throckmorton plot, the Babington plot, each with the same goal, to kill Elizabeth, free Mary, Queen of Scots, and restore England to Rome. You picture it. Shadowy. Figures huddled in candlelight, maps spread on the table, letters written in code. Couriers slipping across borders with false names and forged seals. But what chills you is not the conspirators. It is Walsingham's spies everywhere, unseen. Listening, you imagine a coded letter hidden beneath floorboards, carried across villages in secret. But before it ever reaches its destination, it is intercepted, cracked open. Read aloud in Elizabeth's chamber. You imagine a priest slipping through hedgerows at night, who, drawn low, his Latin prayers whispered under his breath. But before he finds his host, soldiers surround him. The walls had ears. The servant had spoken, and worst of all, you imagine being innocent. A farmer, a merchant, a boy who heard a whisper in a tavern and yet being dragged into it all. Accused of aiding a plot, whether or not you ever knew its name, because once your name is spoken, there is no escape. You are hauled to London, chained and bleeding, to face trial. But the trial is only a mask. Your fate is already sealed. Torture rings confessions from you or from someone who claims to know you. And once branded a traitor, your end is certain. Hanged, drawn, quartered, your limbs nailed to city gates. Your head rotting on a spike, and as you stand in the square, staring up at those grisly remains, you realize the truth. The plots may fail. The assassins may be caught. Elizabeth may live another day, but the message is always the same. No one is beyond suspicion. No one is safe. And if you lived in this age, even the faintest whisper could end your story. Asterisk, the years pass, and the banners of victory still flutter over England. Plays are written, ships sail, portraits shine. But if you look closer, beneath the gilded surface, you see the truth of Elizabeth's twilight years. The Queen is older now. Her face, once radiant, is hidden behind layers of powder. Her teeth are blackened, her hair thin beneath her jeweled wigs. But her eyes remain sharp, too sharp, for paranoia has never left her. Every courtier knows a smile from Elizabeth today may turn to suspicion tomorrow. And beyond the palace walls, her people suffer. The harvests fail. Fields lie barren, struck by frost and flood. Grain prices soar and famine creeps into villages. You walk through a town square and see gaunt faces, mothers clutching children with hollow eyes. Beggars line the streets, their pleas drowned out by the clatter of horse hooves. The government cracks down hard. Harsh poor laws brand the homeless as vagrants. Those who wander in search of bread risk the lash, the stocks, or worse. You see one man whipped until his back splits open. His crime was hunger. And then comes plague. Always plague. The bells toll once more, not for weddings or markets, but for death. Houses are boarded shut, their families trapped inside to die together. You smell it in the air, a stench that clings to your clothes, to your very skin. The theaters close, the streets empty, fear spreads faster than disease, yet Elizabeth presses on. She parades in glittering gowns, her image crafted into the eternal Virgin Queen. To her people, she is both savior and tyrant, mother and executioner. Her reign is called a golden age, but for many it feels like iron chains wrapped in silk. You stand in her presence one last time. She is frail, her hands trembling, but her gaze still commands silence. Around her, courtiers bow deeply, though you can almost see the impatience in their eyes, the hunger for her death and the rise of the next age. And then, quietly, it happens. The Virgin Queen fades. The Tudor sun sets, the banners of glory remain, the stories of Shakespeare endure, the tales of exploration echo across oceans. But you, who have walked these streets, who have felt the fear in every whisper, who have smelled the plague and watched the scaffold, you know the truth. This golden age was never golden for those who lived it. And as the bells toll for Elizabeth's passing, you whisper the words you've carried since your first day in Tudor England. You would not last a day here. Asterisk, forget palaces and crowns. If you were alive in Tudor England, you would almost certainly not be a noble, a courtier, or a wealthy merchant. No, you would be poor, a villager, a laborer. A servant, and life for you would not be painted in gold. It would be painted in sweat, hunger, and dirt. You wake before the sun. Not because you want to, but because the rhythm of your survival demands it. Roosters crow, dogs bark, the cold air bites your skin as you stumble from a straw mattress. There is no comfort, no luxury. Just another endless day of labor. Your house is not a castle, not even a cottage by modern standards. It is a one-room hut, walls of timber and mud, a thatched roof that leaks when it rains. Smoke curls thick from your fire pit, but it does not escape. It hangs in the air, stinging your eyes, choking your lungs. Every cough is a reminder of the years it will shave from your life. Food is meager. Porridge, coarse bread, maybe a bit of cheese if you're lucky. Meat? Rare. It is a dream for holy days, or a scrap of bacon stretched thin across many mouths. Hunger is not an occasional pain here. It is the background hum of your existence. Then to the fields. Always the fields. Plowing, sowing, harvesting. Breaking your back for a landlord who reaps the true reward. The sun burns your skin in summer, the frost cracks your fingers in winter, but you have no choice. If you stop, you starve, and it is not just the work. It is the fear. A poor harvest means famine. A storm can sweep away your crops in a single night. A sickness in your livestock means months of hunger. You live forever at the mercy of nature, and nature shows no mercy. Even the law is against you. Taxes must be paid, tithes to the church must be given, and if you cannot pay, debtor's prison, whipping, shame. At night, you crawl back into your hut, exhausted beyond words. body aching, stomach half empty. You pray, because prayer is all you have. Tomorrow will be the same, and the day after. And the day after that dot, and as you lie in the dark, listening to the scurrying of rats, the weeping of children, the coughing of neighbors, one thought presses into your mind with merciless truth: this is not life. This is survival. Asterisk work in Tudor England was not simply hard. It was brutal, it was life-shortening. And it did not spare the young. If you were born into a poor family, your childhood would not be a time of games or learning. From the moment you could walk, you were given tasks: carrying water, feeding animals, gathering wood. By the age of 7 or 8, you were already part of the workforce. A boy might be sent into the fields, his small hands cutting weeds, his back bent under bundles of wheat. A girl might be taught to spin wool until her fingers bled, or to knead bread for hours each day. Childhood as you know it simply did not exist, and for adults, the labor was even harsher. Imagine being a farmer, rising before dawn to guide a wooden plow through heavy clay soil. No tractor, no machine, just your body, your oxen, and the strength of your arms. Blisters swell, muscles ache, your spine twists under the strain. Or imagine being a blacksmith, standing before the roaring forge. Sparks leap into your skin, hammers slam against iron, heat scorches your lungs. Each breath tastes of ash and fire. Your hands callous into stone, your hearing fades under the endless ring of metal. Then there were the miners, sent into dark tunnels with only a candle to guide them. The air was thick, heavy, suffocating. The ground could collapse without warning, burying men alive. If the rocks didn't kill you, the dust in your lungs would. Women, too, carried crushing burdens. They cooked, cleaned, spun, wove, and nursed, but that was only the beginning. Many also labored in the fields alongside men, hauling water, stacking sheaves, breaking their bodies for survival. Pregnancy brought no relief. A woman could be in labor one day and bent over crops the next. And then there were the servants. Boys and girls sold into service, living in the households of the rich. They scrubbed floors, emptied chamber pots, polished boots, and stood ready at all hours. Some masters were fair, others were cruel, beating their servants for the smallest mistake. And accidents? They were constant. A slip with the scythe could slice through flesh. A toppled cart could crush bones. A spark in the forge could blind you for life. With no hospitals, no medicine, no safety, an injury often meant death, and death could come young. Most laborers, bent and broken, never saw old age. A man might be considered old at 40. A woman's body, worn by childbirth and endless toil, often gave out even earlier. So when you picture Tudor life, do not imagine long walks in the countryside or gentle village festivals. Picture bleeding hands, twisted spines, broken teeth, and faces carved with exhaustion before their time. This was not just work. This was punishment. A punishment handed down not by a master, but by the simple fact of being born poor. You have worked yourself to exhaustion. Your hands bleed, your back aches. But in Tudor England, labor is not the greatest threat to your life. It is disease. Invisible, merciless, always waiting. You live in filth, though you do not call it that. Your street is narrow, clogged with mud and waste. Chamber pots are emptied straight into the gutters, and you pray the splash does not hit your legs as you walk. Rats scurry across the filth, their red eyes gleaming, their fleas carrying death. Water is no refuge. The wells are fouled, the rivers stink. You drink anyway, because thirst will kill you faster than disease. And so you swallow sickness with every mouthful, and when it comes hard, the sweating sickness. A fever that strikes without warning, leaving you drenched, trembling, and dead within a day. People go to bed healthy and are corpses by morning. The plague. Buboes swell beneath your skin, black and oozing. The stench fills your home. Your neighbor's hammerboards across your door, locking your family inside to rot together, smallpox. A rash spreads across your body, blistering, burning, scarring your face into a mask you will wear until death. If you survive it all, and then, the everyday killers, fevers, infections, childbirth, a simple cut can fester. A rotten tooth can poison your blood. A difficult labor can take both mother and child in a single, silent hour. You turn to medicine. But medicine is not your salvation. A barber surgeon straps you to a chair, his tools stained from the last patient. He bleeds you with a rusty blade, insisting your sickness will drain with the blood. If your fever rises, he applies leeches. If your head aches, he drills a hole in your skull to let out the bad humors. There is no anesthesia. You scream until your voice shatters or you faint from the pain. If you survive the cure, it is by chance, not by design. And still, the people cling to charms, prayers, and potions. Dried herbs hung above the door, whispered words against the plague, a saint's relic pressed to a burning forehead. Desperation makes believers of everyone. The truth is brutal. You are never safe. You may labor all your life, but a single cough, a single rat, a single sip of water can undo it all in an instant. And when you finally collapse, fever burning, body trembling, you are not treated with kindness. You are feared. Your neighbors keep their distance. Your family prays over you, knowing the prayers will likely fail. The candles flicker. The priest whispers last rites. And the final thought that crawls across your fading mind is this: you would never last in a world where even the air seems to be trying to kill you. You live in fear already, of hunger, of plague, of backbreaking work. But in Tudor England, there is another shadow always at your back: the law. The law does not exist to protect you. It exists to control you. And it does so with fire, with rope, with steel. Petty crimes, what today would seem almost laughable, are punished with terrifying severity. Steal a loaf of bread, you may be whipped until your skin hangs in ribbons. Speak against the king or queen, that is treason, and treason means death. Even wandering the roads without work, branded a vagrant, can land you in the stocks or with an ear sliced clean off. The punishments are not meant to fit the crime. They are meant to terrify the rest. You see the gallows rising in the town square. The crowd gathers not out of pity, but out of hunger for spectacle. Children sit on their fathers' shoulders. Merchants pause their trade. Beggars shuffle closer for a better view. The condemned is dragged forward. Perhaps he stole a horse. Perhaps she poisoned her husband. Perhaps they merely spoke the wrong words in the wrong company. The rope is tied. The crowd hushes. And then the drop. Legs kick, bodice twist, faces purple. The crowd roars. Justice has been done, but not all deaths are so swift. For the greatest crimes, treason, rebellion, heresy, there are punishments designed not just to kill, but to break the body and soul. Men are hanged until half dead, cut down while still breathing. Their stomachs slit open before their eyes, their hearts torn out and burned. Their bodies are quartered, limbs nailed to gates, their heads impaled on spikes. Women spared this horror, face burning. Bound to the stake, the flames lick their skin, the smoke chokes their screams. The crowd watches, some cheering, some praying. Children clutch their mothers' skirts, forced to learn what justice looks like, and the stocks? They are the daily reminder of humiliation. A man locked by the neck and hands while neighbors pelt him with rotten food, mud, or stones. Hours in pain, mocked, spat upon, shamed. But the greatest cruelty is this: in Tudor England, innocence does not protect you. A false accusation, a whisper of heresy, a neighbor's grudge, and you could find yourself facing the lash, the rope, or the fire. There is no appeal, no defense. Only the brutal certainty that once the law has named you guilty, you are already condemned. So as you walk the streets, and you see the gallows rising black against the sky, ask yourself this: could you live each day knowing that one mistake, one word, one rumor might end with your body swinging before a cheering crowd? In Tudor England, faith is not a private matter. It is not a choice. It is survival. Your prayers, your rituals, even the way you cross yourself, All of it can decide whether you live or die. For religion is not simply belief here. It is politics. It is power. It is the razor's edge on which the entire kingdom balances. One generation, England is Catholic. The next, Protestant. Then Catholic again. Then Protestant once more. Each change brings new laws, new prayers, new dangers. Imagine you have prayed as a Catholic all your life. You kneel before the Virgin Mary, you cross yourself, you believe salvation comes through the church. Then, suddenly, a royal decree declares your faith treason. The Mass is banned, images of saints are smashed. If you continue as before, you are branded a heretic. So you change. You hide your rosary, you learn the new prayers, you follow the book of common prayer. You survive, but then the throne changes hands again. Now Catholicism returns. The Protestants are heretics. Those who once smashed images now burn. You scramble to adapt, but perhaps this time you are too slow. Perhaps someone remembers your words, your doubts. And now you are the one in chains. This is not about what you believe in your heart. It is about what others see you believe. One wrong gesture in church, one word out of place, and suspicion falls, and the punishments. They are not only of the body, but of the soul, for heresy means burning. You are marched to the stake, a Bible pressed into your trembling hands. The priest begs you to repent, to save your soul. The crowd watches, some weeping, some shouting, for fire. And when the flames rise, the smoke carries more than your body. It carries the message that belief is dangerous. Even if you are not a heretic, religion still shapes your every breath. You fast on holy days, you tithe to the church. You confess, repent, and fear hell with every sin. And sin is everywhere, a lie, a lustful thought, a missed mass. Each one a black mark on your soul, a step closer to damnation. Hell is not distant. In your imagination, it is painted on church walls, preached from pulpits, described in detail so vivid you can smell the sulfur. You see demons clawing sinners, flames swallowing bodies. And you believe it because everyone believes it. Your life is short, brutal, uncertain. Disease, famine, and law can take you at any moment. But worse than all of these is the terror that after death, after all this suffering, you may still burn forever in the fires of hell. So you pray, you kneel, you obey. Not only out of faith, but out of raw fear, because in Tudor England, even your soul is never safe. Asterisk, if you think life as a Tudor man was brutal, imagine life as a Tudor woman. Your body is not your own. Your choices are not your own. Your destiny is written the moment you are born. From childhood, you are trained not for freedom, but for obedience. A girl's worth is measured in her future as a wife and mother. You learn to sew, to cook, to keep house. You are told to be silent, modest, obedient. Education is rare, reading perhaps if your family is kind, but never the world of knowledge reserved for men. By your early teens you are already considered marriageable. And marriage is not about love, it is about survival, about property, alliance, and family honor. Your parents arrange it. You may not even meet your husband until the vows are spoken, and once spoken there is no escape. Divorce is nearly impossible. A woman belongs to her husband in body, in labor, in everything. And then comes the true terror, childbirth. You are expected to bear children, many children. Each one a chance at continuing the family line, each one a gamble with your life. There is no medicine, no safe delivery. Midwives do what they can, but complications are common. A breech birth, a fever, bleeding, any of these can kill you. You hear the screams of women in labor echo through your village, followed by silence. You see infants buried in small, shallow graves, and if you survive childbirth, you do it again, and again, and again, until your body breaks. But survival does not mean freedom. Your legal identity vanishes into your husband's. Your property is his. Your earnings are his. If he beats you, the law turns a blind eye, for he is your master as much as your husband. Even noble women, wrapped in silk and jewels, live in cages of expectation. They may walk among courts and palaces, but they are bargaining chips in dynastic games, pawns traded for power. Behind the smiles and gowns lies the same truth. Their lives are not their own, yet women endure. They manage households, raise children, tend fields, brew ale, spin cloth. They pass down stories, keep families alive, and, in whispers, they resist. Quiet strength in a world built to silence them, but for every woman who finds a way to survive, there are countless more who do not. Death in childbirth, death from hunger, death at the hands of a husband, or simply death from exhaustion. So when you imagine Tudor England, do not picture only the queens and crowns. Picture the nameless women bent over fires, cradling infants, their backs broken by labor, their voices swallowed by silence, for theirs was a world not of power, but of survival inside a cage with no key. Asterisk if you imagine childhood in Tudor England. As laughter in green fields or games by the fire, prepare to be shocked. Childhood here is not a season of freedom. It is a season of preparation, duty, and danger. From the moment you are born, your survival is uncertain. Infants die in staggering numbers. A third of all children do not live past their 5th birthday. A fever, a cough, a rash, things that today would pass easily, can steal you in a single night. Mothers weep over tiny graves, but grief is muted by repetition. Death in childhood is expected. A child who survives is a miracle. If you do survive, your childhood is brief. By the age of 6 or 7, you are no longer simply a child. You are a worker. Boys rise before dawn to scare crows from the fields, fetch water, gather firewood. Girls are trained in the endless duties of the household, spinning, sewing, baking, tending infants not much younger than themselves. Play exists, yes, but it is always woven into labor. A game of rolling hoops in the street ends quickly when chores call. Education? That depends entirely on your status. Noble boys are tutored in Latin, rhetoric, and the art of leadership. Noble girls may learn to read, write, and play music, skills to make them pleasing wives. But for the children of commoners, letters and numbers are luxuries. Most will never see the inside of a school. Their education is survival, how to plow, how to spin, how to serve, and discipline is harsh. A child who disobeys is whipped, beaten, or humiliated. The rod is not only accepted, it is celebrated. Spare the rod and spoil the child, they say. Bruises are lessons. Tears are ignored. Even play, when it comes, is rough. Children wrestle in the mud, throw stones, play at battles with sticks for swords. Games are simple, dangerous, and often cruel, and always there is the shadow of adulthood looming. By your early teens, you are apprenticed or married off. Childhood ends in an instant, replaced by labor or childbirth. So picture it, a 7-year-old child bent over in the fields, hands raw, stomach aching with hunger. A 10-year-old girl rocking her infant sibling while her mother works herself to exhaustion. A boy of 12 sent away to live with a master, beaten into obedience as he learns a trade. This is not a childhood of dreams. It is a childhood stolen by survival. And if you lived here, if you grew up in these narrow streets and smoke-filled huts, you would quickly learn the brutal truth. In Tudor England, childhood was not a beginning. It was a test, and most did not pass. Asterisk, what would you eat if you lived in Tudor England? Not feasts, not banquets, not the golden tables of kings and queens. For the vast majority, food is not pleasure. It is not choice. It is survival, and survival tastes of hunger. Bread is your staple, heavy, coarse, dark. Made from rye or barley, it is rough on your teeth and bitter on your tongue. Wheat bread, soft, white, fine, is reserved for the rich. You may see it once a year, perhaps at Christmas, and remember the taste for months. Porridge fills your mornings. A thick, gray mush of oats or barley, eaten day after day until it becomes not a meal, but a monotony. Cheese, hard and salty, may add a bite. Eggs, if your chickens survive the foxes, may give you strength. Meat, rare, a scrap of bacon stretched across a week, boiled until the last trace of fat is gone. A rabbit snared in the fields, roasted quickly before the meat spoils. A chicken killed for a feast, an act of sacrifice, for it could have laid eggs instead. For the poor, fish is more common. Salted herring, dried cod, the taste of the sea turned harsh by preservation. On Fridays and holy days, meat is forbidden, but fish is costly. Many simply go hungry. And hunger is constant. The harvest fails, and your stomach growls for weeks. Grain prices rise, and families starve. Children cry through the night, their bellies empty. Parents go without, feeding the little they have to their young. Water, dangerous. Rivers and wells are fouled with waste. To drink is to risk sickness. So even children are given weak ale, cloudy, bitter, safer than water, but still heavy in the gut. For the rich, the story is different. Their tables grown with roasted venison, swans, peacocks, pies stuffed with meat and spice. Sugar rare and precious is shaped into sculptures. But even here, wealth brings no safety. Overindulgence rots teeth, swells bellies, and shortens lives. And for you, the commoner, the diet is not just meager. It is dangerous. Malnutrition weakens your body, leaving you open to disease. Teeth rot, bones ache, skin pales. By the time you reach middle age, if you reach it, your body feels twice its years. So when you picture Tudor food, do not imagine feasts of plenty. Imagine crusts of coarse bread, bowls of porridge, scraps of salted fish, and the gnawing ache of hunger that never leaves. This is not dining. This is enduring. Step inside a Tudor home, but do not expect warmth or comfort or safety. For most people, home is not a sanctuary. It is another burden. Your house is small, cramped, built of wattle and daub, thin sticks woven together, plastered with mud and dung. The roof is thatch, thick with insects, leaking with every rainfall. In summer it stinks of rot. In winter it drips cold onto your straw bed. The floor is not wood. It is dirt, packed earth, uneven, damp. Rats scurry across it at night, nibbling at crumbs, sometimes biting sleeping children. Inside there is little furniture, a wooden stool, a rough table, a straw mattress shared by an entire family. Blankets are scarce, thin, and full of lice. You wake scratching, shivering, aching. The hearth is the heart of the home. Smoke curls from the fire, but there is no chimney, only a hole in the roof. The smoke lingers, thick and choking, stinging your eyes, blackening the walls. Every breath fills your lungs with ash. Coughs echo through the village, a chorus of slow death. Cleanliness is impossible. You bathe rarely, perhaps once a year. Clothes are patched until they fall apart, then patched again. Lice live in your seams, fleas in your bedding. The smell clings to you, to your family, to your entire village. Space is scarce. Families crowd into one room, sleeping side by side, listening to the cries of infants, the snores of elders, the scratching of vermin. Privacy does not exist. For the very poor, the wandering poor, there is not even this. Only barns, hedgerows, or ditches for shelter. They sleep under the sky, vulnerable to rain, to cold, to wolves, to thieves, and if you dream of rising higher, of a better home, that dream is a prison. For land belongs to landlords, to nobles, to the crown. Your labor pays their wealth. Your body builds their manners. But your home remains a mud hut. Yes, the rich live differently. Great timber halls, glass windows, feather beds. But even they face dangers. Fires from their thatch, damp that rots the walls. Winters so cold that frost creeps across their tapestries. Comfort is relative. Safety is an illusion. So when you picture a Tudor home, do not imagine cozy cottages with roses at the door. Imagine mud floors, smoke-choked rafters, lice-infested bedding, and families huddled together against the cold. This is not home. This is survival with a roof. Life in Tudor England is brutal. Work, hunger, disease, and fear hang over every day. But human beings, no matter how oppressed, always search for moments of joy, and in Tudor England, those moments come in bursts, sudden flashes of laughter, music, and celebration that pierce the darkness. Theaters and plays, by the late Tudor period, the theater becomes the beating heart of entertainment. Imagine crowds gathering in London, pressing into wooden playhouses like the Theatre or the Globe. They cheer, they laugh, they weep, watching the early works of playwrights who will one day become legends. For a penny, the poor stand in the pit, jostling shoulder to shoulder, while the wealthy sit in galleries above. Theater is not just art, it is escape. A world where kings and fools dance before your eyes, and for a few hours you forget your hunger. Music and dance music fills every celebration. Lutes, pipes, drums, voices raised in songs passed from village to village. Dance is wild and rough. The poor stamp their feet on dirt floors, circling hand in hand. Nobles dance intricate pavans and galliards, their gowns sweeping across polished halls. For a moment, bodies forget the aches of work. Hearts beat to rhythm instead of hunger. Festivals and feasts, the church calendar rules the rhythm of life. And with it come festivals. Christmas, Easter, May Day, holy days when labor pauses and the world erupts in celebration. Bonfires blaze, ale flows. Bread is broken, meat shared. In winter, the poor huddle together for warmth, but during festivals, they huddle together for joy. Maypoles rise in village squares, ribbons fluttering, laughter carrying on the wind. It is not abundance. It is not luxury. But it is release. Rough games and blood sports entertainment is not always gentle. The Tudors crave violence in their games. Bear baiting and bull baiting draw roaring crowds, men laughing as animals are torn apart. Cockfights rage in pits, feathers flying. Wrestling, cudgel fighting, and football. Not the football you know, but a violent mob game where bones snap and blood flows. To modern eyes, it is barbaric. To them, it is thrilling. A raw reminder of strength, survival, and dominance. Gambling and drinking alehouses are the social centers of every town. Here men gather to drink, to gamble, to sing, and to fight. Dice clatter on wooden tables, coins vanish into pockets, fists fly when luck turns sour. The alehouse is escape, yes, but it is also danger. Many leave with empty purses, broken noses, or worse. And yet, despite the hardship, despite the filth and fear, these moments matter. They are the threads that hold life together. They are proof that even in the harshest world, people will laugh, sing, dance, and celebrate, if only to forget their suffering for a single night. So, when you think of Tudor entertainment, remember, it is not polished, safe, or refined. It is raw, noisy, bloody, and fleeting. But in those fleeting moments, life feels just a little less cruel. Religion in Tudor England is not a private matter. It is not gentle, it is not forgiving. It is law, it is politics. It is survival. Every moment of your life is tied to the church. From the tolling of bells at dawn to the prayers at dusk, faith shapes your world. It dictates what you eat, when you work, when you rest, who you marry, and even how you die. But in the Tudor age, faith is no longer stable. It is a battlefield, the earthquake of belief in your grandfather's time. England was Catholic. The Pope ruled in Rome, churches gleamed with painted saints, and priests chanted Latin words few could understand. But now, the ground shifts beneath your feet. Henry VIII tears England away from Rome, not for holy visions, but for his hunger for power and a male heir. He proclaims himself head of the Church of England. The monasteries are torn down. Gold and relics are seized. Priests change prayers overnight. One day you kneel before the Virgin Mary, the next, her image is smashed, her shrine burned. For the common people, it is chaos. Which prayers are safe? Which words will damn you? Which belief will brand you a heretic? The fires of heresy to follow the wrong faith is not a mistake. It is a crime, a deadly crime. Men and women are dragged into public squares, chained to stakes and burned alive, their screams echoing as warnings. Some are Catholics, loyal to Rome. Some are Protestants, loyal to Reform. All are victims of a shifting crown. And the crowd watches. Not always in cruelty, but in fear. For if you do not attend, you may be accused yourself. Daily faith for those who survive. Religion still dictates the rhythm of every day. Sundays are for church, where attendance is mandatory, absence is a crime. Children memorize prayers. Families bow their heads at meals. Fear of sin hangs over every action. A wrong thought, a forbidden word, could blacken your soul forever, and death is never far. In a world where plague and famine strike without warning, you cling to religion for comfort. Heaven and hell are not metaphors. They are your destiny. Your only hope is to obey, to believe, and to survive. Faith as division, but faith is also a weapon. Neighbors whisper about each other's loyalties. A hidden crucifix, a secret Bible, a murmured prayer in Latin. Any of these can betray you. Families are torn apart. Communities fracture. The crown demands loyalty, and loyalty shifts with each ruler. Imagine the terror. 1 year, you are ordered to honor the Pope. The next, you are told to denounce him. Each monarch changes the rules. Each change could mean your death. Religion in Tudor England is not comfort, it is control. It is suspicion. It is fire. And if you lived then, you would feel its grip around your neck every hour of every day. Asterisk in Tudor England, death is not rare. It is not a tragedy whispered behind closed doors. It is everywhere. You see it in the streets, in your home, in the mirror, the ever-present plague. The plague is the great terror. Bubonic plague, the Black Death's cruel descendant still, stalks the land. When it strikes without mercy. Boils swell in the groin and armpits, skin darkens, fever burns the body. Within days, sometimes within hours, you are gone. When the plague arrives in your town, bells toll endlessly. Bodies pile high in carts. Doors are marked with chalk or painted crosses to warn of death inside. Whole households vanish in a week, and there is no cure. Doctors mutter about foul airs, about bad humors, about God's wrath. They bleed the sick, purge them, or press herbs to their skin. Nothing works. You pray, you hide, you wait. And you watch neighbors buried in mass graves, other killers, but plague is not the only enemy. Smallpox scars faces and blinds eyes. Typhus rages through filthy streets. Dysentery strikes from foul water. Tuberculosis gnaws at lungs for years. A slow and wasting death. Women face childbirth with terror, for each birth is a gamble with death. Children fall to fevers before their first teeth are grown. A toothache can become an abscess, an infection, a death sentence. The ritual of death is so common it becomes ritual. When someone dies, the body is washed, shrouded, and laid out in the home. Neighbors file past, murmuring prayers. Bells toll across the village. Cemeteries fill. New graves open daily. The earth never rests, and yet death is not silent. It is spoken of openly, constantly. Priests thunder about heaven and hell. Parents warn children that sin will damn them. Pain and death are not mysteries. They are expected, endured, accepted. The fear of contagion grips people. In strange ways, families abandon the sick. Doctors flee towns. Priests refuse last rites. Some pray harder, others sin wildly, believing the end is near, and the poor, always the poor, suffer most. Crowded huts, filthy streets, and hunger make disease unstoppable. The rich flee to country estates, leaving servants behind to die in their place. Living in death's shadow, imagine your life here. You wake with a cough and wonder if it will kill you. You send your child to fetch water and fear they may not return. You see a cart roll past, carrying neighbors you spoke to only yesterday. Life expectancy is short. Most die before 40. Death is not an intruder. It is your constant companion. In Tudor England, you do not ask if death will come. You only ask when justice in Tudor England is not blind. It is brutal. It is public. And it is meant to terrify the world of crime. Petty theft is everywhere. A stolen loaf of bread, a pilfered chicken, a cut purse in a crowded market. Hunger drives many to crime. But even the smallest theft is dangerous. Punishments are savage and mercy is rare. Larger crimes, highway robbery, smuggling, murder, spread fear across towns and villages. But often, guilt or innocence matters less than power. A poor man may hang for stealing a sheep. A noble may escape justice altogether. punishments of pain. The Tudor imagination delights in punishment. Stocks and pillories stand in the marketplace, where criminals are locked and mocked, pelted with rotten food, mud, or stones. Whippings strip flesh from backs. Branding irons burn letters into skin. Ears are cropped, noses slit, fingers removed, permanent marks of shame for women accused of gossiping. A scold's bridle, an iron mask with a metal bit forced into the mouth, silences their tongues. They are paraded through the streets, humiliated into obedience. Execution as spectacle. The ultimate punishment is death, and death is public. Executions are theater, meant to scare the living. Hanging is common, bodies swinging for hours in the open air. Sometimes the condemned are cut down before death, disemboweled alive, their entrails burned before their eyes. For traitors, the fate is worse: hanging, drawing, and quartering. Heads boiled and stuck on spikes above city gates, eyes staring down at those who pass. Even nobles are not spared. Beheading is their privilege, cleaner but no less terrifying. The axe does not always fall true. A botched stroke can leave a victim writhing in agony as the crowd gasps. Law as terror. The law is not about fairness. It is about control. The crown uses terror to keep people obedient. Punishment is not hidden in prisons. It is displayed in public squares, burned into memory. Imagine standing in a crowd, forced to watch a neighbor whipped until blood runs, or a friend hanged for stealing bread. You cheer, or at least pretend to cheer, because silence may mark you as suspicious, superstition, and crime. And there is another layer of fear: accusations of witchcraft. Women, often poor and old, are accused of consorting with the devil. Their fate? Drowning, hanging, burning. The line between crime and superstition blurs, and anyone may be condemned, living under justice. You, as a Tudor commoner, live with this weight daily. You obey, not because you believe in justice, but because you fear punishment. The law is not protection. It is a blade hanging over your head. In Tudor England, justice is not about right or wrong. It is about power, it is about fear, and it is written in blood.